Hi, I'm Reverend John Vandenberg, and I'm glad you could join me today. Today, I want to talk about new starts, new beginnings, fresh awakenings. There's all sorts of things it's called. Um, right now, we're calling it the new normal, something new, something different. But of course, I want to talk to you about God's new and God's different, God's new beginnings, God's new starts. So, what I'd like to do is start to talk to you about a group of exiles in Babylon. Now they're living there. They've lost their country. They've been pushed away, and so they're not anywhere where they want to be. They're not in the wilderness because they're not traveling. They have a home to stay and a place to be, but it's not where they want to be. It's not what they call their home. They can't sacrifice the way they would normally sacrifice. They can't worship the way they would normally worship. And things are just plain different. And truthfully, they don't like it. They want to be back where they were, and they want to do what they were doing before. It sort of sounds familiar, doesn't it? We're finding ourselves in a little bit of an exile right now. It's not like we don't have a home, but our spiritual places that we met are closed, and we're meeting in our homes if we can go over Skype, or perhaps we're watching videos. It's okay, but it's not where we want to be, is it? Here's the thing though, God is always doing something new. And we're called to look to find out what God is doing. This is what he told the Israelites back then. He starts by telling the prophet Isaiah, go to these people and say, look, I am going to deliver you. I'm going to send an army against the Babylonians, and we're going to toss them out, and they can go away on those ships that they love so much, and you will be delivered. You will be saved. But in the meantime, this is what he also told them. He said, forget about all the things that I've done for you, though, all the great things. He's not asking them to forget about the pain and the loss that they're experiencing right now. He's not asking them to forget about any of that. He's saying, forget about the things I've done for you. Forget about how I brought you out of Egypt, how I parted the waters, how you went through safely, and how I put the waters back over the Egyptians. He says, just forget about it. He says, it doesn't matter. That's not what we need to look at anymore. And so the prophet Isaiah continues by saying this, and this is God speaking. He says, but forget all that. It's nothing compared to what I'm going to do. For I am going to do something new. See, I've already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway in the wilderness. I will create rivers in dry wasteland. Wild animals within the fields will thank me, the jackals, the owls too, for giving them water in the desert. Yes, I will make rivers in the wasteland so my chosen people can be refreshed. I have made Israel for myself, and they someday will honor me before the whole world. Isn't that a wonderful, utopic thing that God is telling his people he's going to do? It's all going to change. It's all going to be new. So quit looking back. Don't think about your heydays or your glory days, but think about the future, what God is going to do in the future, what God is already doing now. God says, I'm already doing it. Can you not see? Here's the thing. The Israelites probably couldn't see very well. because this passage continues, and the prophet Isaiah says to them, God is not happy with you. God says, you don't have it right. You no longer worship me. You no longer stand before me. You no longer pray. You no longer act like my people. And God's sad. Even though God is sad and angry at his people for turning away, you remember that line, what it said? That people will stand before the world one day and honor him. God doesn't give up. God knows that sometimes you're led to a place where it's difficult and hard to see the future. And God has made provision for that. He says, I will deliver you. Now, we know that to be true because we have Jesus Christ. God sent his son so that we could be in fellowship with him, so that we could be saved, so that we could live a life full of the Spirit, and so that we could live the life that God always intended. And sometimes that's in exile, like now. And sometimes it's hard to see the future. I agree. I mean, so many congregations, this shouldn't be a new thing. So many congregations throughout the country have been talking with each other and with themselves for a number of years now. What is the future going to bring? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Our congregation is perhaps aging. Our finances are perhaps falling down. The building perhaps needs care. The location of where we are maybe is not as good as it once was. What are we going to do? And it's a continuing conversation. And we're always reminded when we get there that God says, look, I'm doing something new. I'm not sure what you're doing right now, but you're not following the Spirit. You're not looking forward. You're looking back. You're looking at what you have been and not what you will be. What you always are, my people, God says. And that doesn't change. But we are human and we float back and forth. I mean, how many of us really like change? Yeah, a lot of us don't. That routine. But I mean, right now, I'm not sure about you, but I find many days running into each other. The hours, the days, it sometimes gets a little difficult to remember. Thursday or is it Friday? I'm not sure, because right now we're at home and everything's the same. Everything's the same. We're basically in exile, isolated exile. And so we can understand what it is these people were going through. But what we need to be wary of course, is going down that path of moving away from God and saying, well, the new normal for me is I just don't go to church anymore and I don't do much of anything. I don't read my Bible. There's lots of hours in the day, but I watch Netflix a lot. And you know what? That's okay. But then we're forgetting that Christ did an amazing thing to us. Christ made us new. We're born again. We're reborn as this new person. The things of the past are gone. The things of the future stand before us because we're new. And we're new in God. And this is the thing. God is always doing something new. So if we're a new creature in God, should we also not be looking to see what it is that God is doing? His newness, his awareness, and his how? I mean, we can worry all about our things when we get back. There'll be lots of time to talk when we get back about the future. But if we start thinking about it now, as God told the Jews through the prophet Isaiah, look, I'm preparing rivers in the wasteland. In other words, he was preparing his people to send them out into the wilderness. He was preparing them to go. And he's saying, it's not going to be easy, but there are going to be water for you. There is going to be everything that you're going to need to do the journey. But it's something new. Let go of the past. The past is gone. Don't hang on to it. This is something new I'm doing. Just as you let go of your former life and you let go of the things that held you there, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and guide your steps. Now, I know a lot of us go, well, what is it that God is doing? It's a good question. And I've seen a number of different articles and listened to a number of different people that all say various things. But one of the things that has come out time and time again is that people are talking about God. Now, not all good. It's not all good. I mean, let's be honest. People don't always talk the best, but people are talking. They're no longer apathetic about a conversation about where they're going to spend eternity. They're no longer apathetic about thinking about what's going to happen afterwards. People are thinking. They have lots of time to think. And God is preparing us to enter into that wilderness. That's where we're headed. How are we going to enter it? That's where we have to see, what is God doing? What is God doing? What are the new rivers in the wasteland? God is telling a community that feels very far away from themselves right now that he is going to deliver them. He tells the Jews, I'm going to deliver you. Faith is what carried them through the desert. Faith is what brought them back to Jerusalem. Faith is what will carry us to trust that when God says, I am going to deliver you, he's already done it in Jesus. And when that promise is given again and Jesus says, I'm never going to leave you and I will be back. And when I come back, God is going to establish his kingdom. We know these things. And here we find that God is saying, look, forget about all of the big things in the back. I've done many great things in the past for you. And I'm going to do many great things for you in the future as we go forward together, as you become part of my wonderful new vision. And that's all part of new starts, new beginnings, finding our way, looking at it. It begins with faith and prayer and hope. That's where we are. Stop, see where the Spirit is at work. Ask God to show you the picture. Spend time in prayer. Read your Bible. Talk to people on the phone, on Skype, on Zoom, FaceTime, and say, what is God doing? What is God doing that's new? And how can we be part of it? Let's start there. This is the new beginning for God's people. Hallelujah.